Hi, I'm Meredith Mendelson, co-founder of Savvy Survivorship, which is the place for people who've completed their treatment for cancer, as well as their oncology providers and caregivers. Today, our guest is Dory Bergman. And good morning, Dory. How are you?
Morning. Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So please introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me. So I'm an oil painter. I paint about women in the outdoors with a focus on mental health. And my background is in wilderness therapy and now outdoor education.
Oh, that's great. And so tell us about how you got to, the paintings and we'll just start there. How did you start doing the paintings?
So I've always been really creative. And so I realized from a young age that how I wanted to share like my thoughts and feelings with the world was going to be through a creative medium. So I figured out that painting was a really good way for me to get across those messages that I want to share with people. I think that art can be very powerful.
And has just the process of doing the paintings been helpful to you?
Actually, so I paint with like a very small brush and I do these tiny details. So actually the process can be really grueling for me and like tedious. So it is more about the product, unfortunately for me. But I notice like when I get into like patterns. So I'll do stones and I'll just be doing dots for hours. And that can be therapeutic. Yeah, like meditative almost.
And how does the wilderness provide that kind of therapeutic environment for you, and what's your hope for others?
So I think that the wilderness has like so many benefits for mental health. First, the wilderness is very novel and unfamiliar. So that contrast gives me like new perspective on my issues back at home. So I can address those problems in new ways that are more positive and healthier when I like am away from them and I'm in this new environment. Also, it reduces symptoms of anxiety and depression, and it increases positive feelings like happiness. A lot of that is because the nature has like a very calming effect caused by a reduction of stimuli. Like, for example, a huge thing nowadays is technology and social media. So when you're out there in the wilderness with no Wi-Fi, it's just a lot calmer. I like that a lot. Also, when I'm in the wilderness, like living on my own, so I'm cooking my own food, or like I'm climbing mountains, I get a feeling of competency and autonomy that I couldn't get in the front country. And then I think what's really big is when I'm like far away from all the people that I love and all the things that I love, I gain new appreciation for all those things. So it gives me a sense of gratitude. Yeah, so a lot of things.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And how would you recommend that someone who's really not ever been, so much of an outdoor enthusiast kind of get started?
Well, I think that you don't have to go on some big crazy backpacking trip. I think that you can get all those things that I just mentioned just by taking a walk in the woods every day. Really just those little small steps go a long way. And then also there's a lot of programs now that are like all over the country where they will just take a group of people in the outdoors and then, yeah, so you don't have to go by yourself. I wouldn't recommend going by yourself. And my favorite organization is NOLS, the National Outdoor Leadership School. So if you have the funds, they have amazing programs.
Okay. And I think we'll have a link to that when we put the video up online. What about like physical preparation? Again, somebody who, hasn't been that physically active for a while. Are there things that people could do to kind of get ready? to be able to hike?
I would say work your way up to it. So start with small hikes. And again, like I said, you can get all of those benefits to your mental health just by taking a small hike every day. Take lots of breaks. Definitely just go at your own pace. Yeah.
Any type of, kind of exercises or stretching, things like that might be helpful?
I like yoga a lot. I like to do that when I'm in the front country. But also I think just what I love about hiking is that even if I'm not in shape, I can always still go for a hike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do people need special gear to do this, or, can they just go out in their regular shoes, their, outdoor shoes?
I would definitely, before you go on an overnight trip, do your research, or just walk into an REI or an EMS and ask them about gear. But you don't need very much gear, especially if you're just hiking, staying 1 or 2 nights outdoors. But definitely do your research. But it's not hard at all.
And do you
go with other people so you can share the gear?
Okay. That was going to be my next question to you is, do you recommend people, go with someone else, at least?
Yeah. I know a lot of people who love solo hiking. I'm not one of those people. I don't really like hiking by myself, so I love sharing the experience with other people. And that also makes it a lot easier, and it's a lot safer if something were to happen or you were to get lost. And if you are hiking alone, just make sure that you tell someone before you go out, hey, this is where I'm going. This is when I plan to get back.
Yeah. And so how did the painting kind of come about with your interest in the wilderness? How did that evolve?
What do you mean by that?
So what inspired you to start doing these paintings?
I think I just wanted to get my messages out there about women in the outdoors, because this is still a male-dominated field, and then also about how we can treat, I wanted to address mental health, so those 2 things, and I felt that the best way to do that and to get that conversation going was through art. Mm-hmm. And I really love art. I love painting. Yeah.
And do you get your ideas while you're hiking for your next paintings?
I think I get all my ideas through my own experiences. So I have my summer before college, I experienced a lot of anxiety and then depression for the first time. And then I went on a Knowles trip. So then I did a month mountaineering on a glacier with Knowles. And I really learned how the outdoors can, all of its healing powers for anxiety and depression. And then when I'm outdoors, wilderness therapy is rooted in metaphors. So there's a lot of metaphors that I see when I'm outdoors. And then that's what I put into my painting.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah. Let me look here. Let's see. So I have a painting called Winding Road, where there's a girl and she's about to start on this hike, and there's all these different paths that she could take, and there's a whole bunch of signs pointing in all different directions, and then you see that they all lead to the same place, to the same point on the top of a mountain, but it looks like a crazy web. And so to me, that's a metaphor for this idea that life is not going to be a straight line. and there's going to be many different paths that you can take to get to your ultimate goal. And you can't plan your life out ahead of time. And that's something that I learned in the outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like each of your paintings has that kind of subtext.
Yeah. And it's like something that I personally have learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Any other advice you'd like to give for people who want to start painting or people who want to start hiking?
I would say figure out your goal and then do everything you can to achieve that goal. So perseverance is big for me with painting, because I'll spend hours and hours and hours and hours on a painting, and I don't give up like when it gets hard. And that's what I've learned from the outdoors too, and hiking and climbing, is to not give up. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your experiences with us. I think that certainly anxiety and depression apply to many people who've completed their cancer treatment or living with cancer. So, we really appreciate your insights and your inspiration.
Thank you for having me. This was a great opportunity.
Excellent.